Happiness is your choice. This audiobook reveals the timeless truth. Happiness isn't something you find, it's something you choose. Right now, you hold the power to shape your mental and emotional landscape, no matter your circumstances. By listening, you'll uncover how to reclaim control and create joy from within. Your transformation starts here. Introduction. Happiness isn't some magical state that falls from the sky or arrives gift-wrapped at your doorstep. It's not hiding in your next promotion, a bigger house, or even in the perfect relationship. The truth? Happiness is a decision you make, right here, right now. You've probably spent years waiting for happiness to find you, hoping that somehow the stars would align and suddenly everything would click into place. But deep down, you already know that's not how it works. The power to change your life has always been within you. You just haven't fully embraced it yet. Think about that for a moment. Every morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can either let circumstances dictate your emotional state, or you can decide to take control. This isn't about forcing a fake smile or pretending everything's perfect. It's about acknowledging your power to shape your mental landscape, regardless of external conditions. Here's what I know about you. You have an untapped reservoir of strength within you. You possess the ability to rewire your thoughts, reshape your perspective, and rebuild your relationship with happiness from the ground up. This isn't wishful thinking. It's a fundamental truth about human psychology and potential. I've witnessed countless individuals transform their lives by making this simple yet powerful shift in mindset. The only difference between them and those who remain stuck: they made a decision. They stopped waiting and started acting. They chose to become the architects of their own happiness rather than passive observers of their lives. You're ready for this transformation. I can feel it in the way you're engaging with these words right now. The fact that you're here, reading this, shows you're prepared to take control. This is your moment to decide. Will you continue waiting for happiness, or will you choose to create it? Part 1. The Foundations of Happiness. Chapter 1. The Power of Choice. Meet Rachel, a marketing executive who spent 8 years following the same soul-crushing routine. Wake up, commute, work, scroll through social media, sleep, repeat. She had everything society told her should make her happy: a stable job, a comfortable apartment, and a wide circle of friends. Yet each morning, she felt that familiar heaviness in her chest, that gnawing emptiness that whispered, "Is this all there is?" One particularly grueling Monday, Rachel found herself stuck in traffic, watching the minutes tick by on her dashboard clock. As frustration mounted, she caught herself doing what she always did, blaming everything and everyone else for her unhappiness. The traffic, her boss, the economy, her upbringing, they were all conspiring to keep her miserable. Then something shifted. Maybe it was the way the morning sun hit her rearview mirror, or perhaps it was simply time. But in that moment, Rachel had a revelation that would transform her life. She was the common denominator in all her experiences. If everything around her was making her unhappy, maybe it wasn't everything else that needed to change. Maybe it was her approach to life itself. This realization hit her like a bolt of lightning. For years, she had given away her power to external circumstances, waiting for happiness to find her. She had become a passenger in her own life, letting each day's events determine her emotional state. But in that traffic jam, Rachel made a decision that would alter her trajectory forever. She chose to take back control. The truth is, your circumstances don't define your happiness. Your choices do. Just like Rachel, you might be caught in the trap of believing that happiness is something that happens to you, rather than something you create. You've probably spent countless hours waiting for the perfect conditions: the right job, the ideal relationship, or the perfect living situation. But happiness isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a skill you develop through conscious choice. Think about it. How many times have you achieved something you thought would make you happy, only to find yourself wanting more? That promotion, that relationship, that new house, they might bring temporary joy, but lasting happiness comes from something deeper. It comes from the daily decision to own your emotional state, regardless of external circumstances. This isn't about positive thinking or denying reality. It's about recognizing your power to choose your response to life's challenges. Every morning, you have the opportunity to decide, will you be at the mercy of circumstances, or will you take responsibility for your emotional well-being? When Rachel made this shift, she didn't just change her mindset. She changed her life. She started making conscious choices about how she spent her time, who she surrounded herself with, and most importantly, how she responded to challenges. The traffic jams didn't disappear. Her boss didn't suddenly become perfect. But her experience of life transformed dramatically. Here's your challenge. Take a moment now to reflect on one area of your life where you've been reactive rather than proactive. Where have you been blaming circumstances instead of taking responsibility? Identify one specific choice you can make today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today, to create positive change in that area. Write it down and commit to taking action within the next 24 hours. This isn't about making grand gestures. It's about reclaiming your power to choose, one decision at a time. Chapter 2. Breaking Free from Negativity. You've probably heard Oprah's story before, the tale of a girl born into poverty in rural Mississippi, facing abuse, teen pregnancy, and seemingly insurmountable odds. But what you might have missed is the profound lesson her journey teaches about the power of conscious choice and the courage to break free from toxic patterns. When you look at Oprah's early years, you'll see a perfect storm of negativity. The kind of environment that could easily become an excuse for a life of bitterness and defeat. But that's not what happened. Instead, you witness one of the most remarkable examples of someone who refused to let their circumstances dictate their destiny. Think about the beliefs that were planted in young Oprah's mind. That she wasn't worthy, that her dreams were too big, that her past defined her future. These weren't just passing thoughts. They were deeply rooted narratives reinforced by her environment and experiences. The same kind of negative beliefs that might be playing on repeat in your own mind right now. But here's where Oprah's story becomes your story. Just as she had to identify and consciously reject the limiting beliefs that threatened to hold her back, you too must become aware of the toxic thoughts and influences that are sabotaging your happiness. These aren't always obvious. They can be as subtle as the friend who always dismisses your ambitions or as ingrained as the voice in your head that says you're not good enough. The transformation begins with awareness. Oprah didn't just passively hope for a better life. She actively identified what needed to change. She recognized that the negative voices around her were echoes of other people's fears and limitations, not truth. This recognition gave her the power to start making different choices. You have this same power. Right now, in this moment, you can begin to identify the thoughts, relationships, and environments that are draining your joy rather than nurturing it. Maybe it's the social media feeds that leave you feeling inadequate. Perhaps it's the habit of comparing yourself to others. Or it could be the tendency to replay past failures instead of learning from them. Creating space for positivity isn't about denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about consciously choosing what you allow to take root in your mind. When Oprah built her media empire, she didn't just create television, she created content that aligned with her vision of upliftment and growth. You can apply this same principle to your life by deliberately choosing what you consume, who you spend time with, and what thoughts you entertain. The beauty of this approach is that it's entirely within your control. You don't need anyone's permission to start this transformation. You don't need to wait for perfect circumstances. You just need to be willing to honestly examine what's holding you back and be brave enough to make different choices. Your challenge. Take a moment now to write down 3 negative thoughts or influences that you're ready to release this week. Next to each one, write a specific positive action or mindset you'll replace it with. Be concrete and realistic. These should be changes you can actually implement starting today. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress and the courage to choose differently. Chapter 3. Cultivating Self-Awareness. Let me tell you about Jennifer, a high-powered marketing executive who seemed to have it all figured out. From the outside, her life was a masterclass in success. Corner office, impressive salary, and a schedule packed with important meetings. But beneath that polished exterior, she felt disconnected, running on autopilot through her days without really understanding why she felt so empty. One morning, after another sleepless night, Jennifer found herself staring at a blank notebook her therapist had suggested she use. At first, she dismissed it as another time-wasting exercise. But something made her pick up that pen and write 3 simple words. I feel stuck. Those 3 words became a turning point. Over the next few weeks, Jennifer began spending just 5 minutes each morning writing whatever came to mind. No structure, no rules, just honest reflection. What emerged surprised her. Patterns started appearing on those pages, recurring frustrations, moments of joy she'd overlooked, values she'd compromised without realizing it. This is where you might recognize yourself. Like Jennifer, you're probably moving through life at full speed, checking boxes and hitting targets, but rarely pausing to ask yourself the essential questions. What truly matters to me? What triggers my stress? What actually makes me happy? Self-awareness isn't just about knowing your favorite color or how you take your coffee. It's about understanding the deeper currents that drive your decisions and shape your experiences. When you begin to pay attention, you'll notice that your emotions aren't random. They're signposts pointing to what needs attention in your life. Think about the last time you felt intensely frustrated. Behind that frustration was likely a violated value or an unmet need. Or think of a moment of genuine joy. What made it special? These insights are gold, but you'll miss them if you're not paying attention. Jennifer discovered that her greatest stress wasn't from her workload, but from saying yes to projects that didn't align with her values. She realized her happiest moments weren't in client meetings, but in mentoring junior colleagues. These insights didn't magically solve all her problems, but they gave her a compass for making better decisions. You have access to this same powerful tool. Your emotions, reactions, and patterns are constantly giving you feedback about what's working in your life and what isn't. But like any skill, self-awareness requires practice. It demands the courage to look honestly at yourself and the patience to sit with uncomfortable truths. Your challenge. For the next week, commit to spending 5 minutes each day reflecting on your emotions. Notice what triggers specific reactions, what patterns emerge in your mood, and how different activities affect your sense of well-being. Write it down. There's power in putting thoughts on paper. Don't judge what comes up. Just observe and record. This simple practice will begin to build the self-awareness that's essential for creating lasting happiness. Chapter 4. Shifting from Scarcity to Abundance. You've probably heard the saying, mindset is everything, but let me show you how this truth transformed one woman's life. Before Sarah Blakely became the founder of a billion-dollar company, she was selling fax machines door to door, facing rejection daily. Her bank account showed less than $5,000, and conventional wisdom would have labeled her situation as one of scarcity. But Sarah didn't see it that way. Each morning, she made a conscious choice to focus on what she had rather than what she lacked. While driving to her sales appointments, she would list everything she was grateful for: her health, her education, even the ability to have a car to drive. This wasn't just positive thinking, it was rewiring her brain to spot opportunities instead of obstacles. This shift in perspective became her superpower. When she cut the feet off her pantyhose to create a smoother look under her clothing, she didn't see a makeshift solution. She saw an opportunity. That moment of innovation, born from gratitude for what she had to work with, eventually led to the creation of Spanx. You might be thinking, that's great for Sarah, but my circumstances are different. Here's what you need to understand. Abundance isn't about your bank account. It's about your mindset. When you choose to focus on what you have rather than what you lack, you activate a part of your brain that becomes better at recognizing opportunities. Think about it. When you're operating from a scarcity mindset, your brain is in survival mode. You see threats everywhere. But when you shift to abundance thinking, you open yourself to possibilities. It's like switching from a narrow flashlight beam to a floodlight. Suddenly, you can see the whole landscape of opportunities around you. This isn't about denying reality or pretending everything is perfect. It's about training your mind to find the gold in every situation. Sarah didn't ignore her financial challenges. She simply refused to let them define her possibilities. She was grateful for every no from a potential customer because it brought her one step closer to a yes. The science backs this up. Gratitude practices have been shown to increase happiness levels, reduce stress, and improve decision-making abilities. When you consistently acknowledge what's going well, your brain becomes better at noticing positive opportunities. Your challenge: begin a daily gratitude journal, listing 3 things you are thankful for each morning. Start small. Maybe it's your morning coffee, a comfortable bed, or a friend who always answers your calls. The key is consistency. Do this for 30 days straight, and watch how your perspective begins to shift. You'll start noticing more things to be grateful for, and opportunities you might have missed before will become visible. Remember, you don't need to wait for perfect circumstances to begin practicing gratitude. Like Sarah, you can start exactly where you are, with exactly what you have. The abundance mindset you cultivate today could be the foundation of your next breakthrough. Chapter 5: Redefining Success. Let me tell you about Marcus, a high-powered executive who seemed to have it all. Corner office, 7-figure salary, vacation homes in 3 countries. By society's standards, he was living the dream. Yet every morning, he'd stare at himself in his Italian marble bathroom and feel nothing but emptiness. You see, Marcus had followed the blueprint that was handed to him. Prestigious college, elite MBA program, climbing the corporate ladder with ruthless precision. He checked every box society told him would bring fulfillment. But something was missing, and it wasn't something he could buy with his platinum card. The turning point came during a board meeting. While presenting another record-breaking quarter, Marcus caught his reflection in the conference room window. Behind his polished exterior, he saw what he'd become: a performer in someone else's play, living someone else's definition of success. This is where many of you find yourselves right now. You're chasing goals that were programmed into you by parents, peers, or society. You're measuring your worth by metrics that don't align with your core values. And like Marcus, you might be winning at a game you never wanted to play. Here's the truth. Success isn't a one-size-fits-all suit you can buy off the rack. It's a custom-tailored experience that must fit your unique values, passions, and purpose. Marcus discovered this when he finally asked himself, what would success look like if no one else was watching? The answer surprised him. It wasn't about bigger deals or better bonuses. His authentic version of success centered around creativity, mentorship, and building something meaningful. This realization led him to step down from his position and start a small business incubator focusing on social impact startups. His income dropped, but his sense of fulfillment soared. You might be thinking, but what about financial security? That's a valid concern. The key is understanding that redefining success doesn't mean abandoning practical needs. It means aligning them with your authentic values. Sometimes this requires bold changes, other times subtle shifts in how you approach your current path. Real success isn't measured by the size of your house or the prestige of your title. It's measured by the alignment between your daily actions and your core values. It's about waking up with purpose and going to bed with satisfaction. It's about building a life that feels true to you, not impressive to others. Your challenge: write down your definition of success and identify one change you can make to align your life with it. Start by asking yourself these questions. What would make you proud if no one else knew about it? What activities make you lose track of time? What impact do you want to have on others? Use these answers to craft your personal definition of success. Then identify one specific action you can take this week to move closer to this authentic vision. Chapter 6: The Science of Happiness. Let me share a remarkable story from Dr. Robert Foster's practice that changed how we understand happiness. One afternoon, a patient named Jessica walked into his office, her shoulders heavy with the weight of chronic unhappiness. Despite having tried various treatments and self-help approaches, nothing seemed to stick. What happened next would revolutionize not just Jessica's life, but Dr. Foster's entire approach to treating emotional wellness. During their session, Dr. Foster noticed something fascinating. When Jessica described her rare moments of joy, her posture shifted, her breathing deepened, and her voice took on a different quality. Instead of focusing on her problems, he began asking her to recreate these physical states intentionally. The results were immediate and measurable. This observation led to a groundbreaking realization. Happiness isn't just an emotion. It's a physiological state that can be deliberately activated. The science behind this is remarkable. Your brain doesn't actually know the difference between a genuine laugh and a forced one. Both trigger the release of dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, your body's natural feel-good chemicals. Research from neuroscience labs at Stanford and Harvard has shown that your brain is remarkably plastic. Each time you engage in activities that promote positive emotions, you're literally rewiring your neural pathways. It's like creating a well-worn path through a forest. The more you walk it, the easier it becomes to traverse. Pay attention to these scientific findings. Regular meditation increases gray matter in regions associated with happiness and emotional regulation. Deep breathing exercises can lower cortisol levels in just 3 minutes. Even the simple act of smiling, whether genuine or not, triggers a cascade of beneficial hormones. But here's where art meets science. While we know these mechanisms exist, the way you implement them is deeply personal. Jessica discovered that combining deep breathing with dance movement worked best for her, while others might find their sweet spot in mindful walking or gratitude practices. The power lies in understanding that happiness isn't a mysterious force beyond your control. It's a skill you can develop through deliberate practice. Just as an athlete trains their muscles, you can train your brain's happiness circuits through consistent, informed action. Your challenge: choose one evidence-based happiness strategy and practice it daily for a week. Here are some scientifically validated options. Deep breathing. 4 to 7 8 technique. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8. Experience savoring. Spend 2 minutes fully focusing on a positive moment. Power posing. Hold an expansive posture for 2 minutes. Gratitude practice. Write down 3 specific things you're thankful for. Social connection. Have one meaningful conversation each day. Select the strategy that resonates most with you and commit to it for 7 days. Track your mood before and after each practice, noting any changes in your overall sense of well-being. Chapter 7: Happiness and Relationships. Let me share a powerful story about connection and healing. Thomas Harris and Marie had been inseparable friends since college, supporting each other through career changes, relationships, and life's ups and downs. But as often happens, small misunderstandings and unspoken resentments began to create distance between them. What started as missed calls and delayed responses grew into months of silence. The weight of their fractured friendship affected both of their lives in ways they hadn't anticipated. Thomas found himself hesitating to celebrate achievements, missing the person who had always been his first call. Marie noticed a void in her daily routine, the absence of their shared laughs and understanding weighing heavily on her happiness. The turning point came when Thomas received news of a major career setback. In that moment of vulnerability, he realized something profound. Pride and stubbornness were poor substitutes for genuine connection. Despite his uncertainty, he sent Marie a simple message: "I miss my friend." Those 4 words bridged months of silence. Marie, who had been carrying her own regrets, responded immediately. They met at their old favorite coffee shop, and instead of letting awkwardness prevail, they chose honesty. Thomas acknowledged how his workaholic tendencies had made him less present. Marie admitted that her fear of confrontation had prevented her from expressing her feelings earlier. This story illustrates a fundamental truth about happiness. It thrives in the soil of authentic connections. Research consistently shows that strong social bonds are the single greatest predictor of life satisfaction. You might achieve every professional goal, acquire material success, and reach the pinnacles of personal achievement. But without meaningful relationships, happiness remains incomplete. Building and maintaining these connections requires intentional effort. You must be willing to show vulnerability, to reach across the divide, and to prioritize relationships even when life gets busy. Every text message returned, every coffee date kept, every difficult conversation initiated is an investment in your happiness ecosystem. Think about the relationships in your own life. Who have you lost touch with? What connections have grown distant due to unspoken words or unresolved tensions? Your happiness isn't just about personal achievement or individual growth. It's intimately tied to the web of relationships you nurture. Your challenge: reach out to one person this week to express gratitude or rekindle a meaningful connection. Choose someone you've lost touch with, or a relationship that needs attention. Write a heartfelt message or make a call. Be specific about what their friendship means to you, and take the first step toward rebuilding that bridge. Remember, it's not about grand gestures. Sometimes the simplest act of reaching out can set powerful healing in motion. Chapter 8: Letting Go of the Past. You might recognize this feeling, the weight of resentment that sits heavy in your chest, stealing your peace and holding you back from true happiness. This was James Anderson's reality for years after his business partner betrayed him, walking away with half their clients and leaving him to rebuild from scratch. Each morning, James would wake up rehearsing arguments in his head, planning vengeful scenarios that would never play out. His anger became a constant companion, coloring every aspect of his life. His relationships suffered, his creativity dimmed, and most importantly, his capacity for joy shrank with each passing day, spent nursing his grievances. The truth about resentment is that it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. While James was consumed by bitterness, his former partner was building a new life, completely unaffected by James's emotional turmoil. It wasn't until James's daughter asked him why he never smiled anymore that he realized how much of his life he was sacrificing at the altar of revenge. This is where many of you find yourselves right now, carrying wounds from past betrayals, disappointments, or injustices. You might think holding on to these grievances protects you from future harm, but in reality, it's keeping you chained to the very pain you're trying to avoid. Forgiveness isn't about condoning what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It's about choosing your freedom over your pain. It's about recognizing that every moment spent in resentment is a moment stolen from your potential for joy. For James, forgiveness began with a simple acknowledgement. His anger was hurting him more than it could ever hurt his former partner. He started small, replacing his mental arguments with conscious breathing whenever bitter thoughts arose. Each time he chose to redirect his energy toward his current business, rather than dwelling on past betrayals, he felt lighter. The transformation wasn't instant, but it was profound. As James released his grip on resentment, new opportunities began flowing into his life. His creativity returned, his relationships deepened, and most importantly, he rediscovered his capacity for joy. You have this same power within you right now. Every grudge you're holding, every past hurt you're nursing, is using up emotional energy that could be fueling your happiness and growth. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the ultimate act of self-liberation. Your challenge: write a forgiveness letter. You don't have to send it. To release past grievances and focus on moving forward. Choose someone whose actions still affect your peace of mind. Pour everything onto the paper: your hurt, your anger, your disappointment. Then, write about choosing to release these feelings, not for their sake, but for your own freedom. After writing, you can either keep the letter as a reminder of your commitment to moving forward, or perform a ritual of release by safely burning it or tearing it up. Chapter 9. Mastering Your Inner Critic. The battle that rages within your mind can be your greatest obstacle or your most powerful ally. Amanda's story mirrors the struggle many of you face daily. As a talented painter, she had the technical skills to create breathtaking art, yet her inner critic waged a relentless war against her confidence. Every time she approached her canvas, that familiar voice would whisper, "You're not good enough. Real artists don't struggle like this. Why even bother?" These thoughts weren't just fleeting doubts. They were deeply ingrained patterns that had become her default internal dialogue. This negative self-talk isn't just about art or creativity. It's the same voice that tells you you're not qualified enough for that promotion, not worthy enough for that relationship, or not capable enough to pursue your dreams. Like Amanda, you've likely spent years reinforcing these limiting beliefs, letting them shape your reality. But here's what Amanda discovered, and what you need to understand. Your inner dialogue is a habit, and like any habit, it can be transformed. When Amanda began consciously catching her negative thoughts and replacing them with supportive ones, something shifted. Instead of, "I'm not good enough," she started saying, "I'm growing and learning every day." Rather than, "Why bother?" she asked herself, "What can I learn from this attempt?" The science behind this is clear. Your brain's neural pathways strengthen with repetition. Every time you choose a positive thought over a negative one, you're literally rewiring your mind for success. This isn't about toxic positivity or denying real challenges. It's about choosing language that empowers rather than diminishes you. Think of your mind as a garden. Negative self-talk is like weeds that will naturally grow if left unchecked. Your job isn't to ignore the weeds, but to actively cultivate the flowers of positive, constructive thoughts. This requires daily attention and care. For Amanda, this meant creating specific affirmations that addressed her core doubts. When fear of judgment crept in, she would remind herself, "My creativity is a gift, and sharing it enriches both my life and others." These weren't empty phrases. They were new neural pathways being forged with each repetition. Your self-talk shapes your reality more powerfully than any external circumstance. The voice you choose to listen to will either lift you toward your potential or keep you tethered to your fears. Your challenge: create and repeat a daily affirmation that counters your most frequent negative self-talk. First, identify the specific negative thought that appears most often. Write it down. Then, create an affirmation that directly challenges this thought, using present tense and positive language. For example, if your negative thought is, "I never finish what I start," your affirmation might be, "I am capable and committed to completing my goals." Repeat this affirmation at least 3 times each morning and whenever the negative thought appears. Chapter 10. Happiness as a Skill. Let me share a powerful truth with you. Happiness isn't something that happens to you. It's something you practice, just like any other skill. Think of it like building muscle. You don't get stronger by wishing for strength. You build it through consistent, intentional effort. Christopher Jackson understood this principle better than most. Working as a software developer, he spent years chasing the next big achievement, believing happiness would naturally follow success. But despite promotions and accolades, that lasting sense of fulfillment remained elusive. The turning point came when Christopher realized he was treating happiness like a destination rather than a practice. He began implementing small, deliberate habits into his daily routine. Every morning, before checking his phone or email, he spent 5 minutes in quiet reflection. During his lunch break, instead of eating at his desk, he took a short walk outside, regardless of the weather. These weren't groundbreaking changes, but their impact was profound. By consciously creating moments of joy and presence throughout his day, Christopher began rewiring his brain's default settings. The science behind this is clear. Repeated behaviors create neural pathways that become stronger over time. You see, happiness isn't about grand gestures or life-changing events. It's built in the small moments, the daily choices, the tiny habits that accumulate into a transformed life. Just as an athlete doesn't become exceptional through sporadic intense workouts but through consistent training, your capacity for happiness grows through regular practice. Think about the habits you currently maintain without effort: brushing your teeth, checking your phone, or having your morning coffee. These automated behaviors didn't start as habits. You built them over time. The same principle applies to happiness practices. Whether it's expressing gratitude, practicing mindfulness, or engaging in activities that bring you joy, these actions become more natural and automatic with repetition. The key is to start small and remain consistent. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Choose one happiness habit that resonates with you and commit to it fully. Your brain will resist at first. That's normal. But with each repetition, you're laying the foundation for lasting change. Your challenge: identify one happiness habit to build this week, e.g., daily gratitude, a 10-minute walk, and track your progress. Choose something specific and measurable. Write it down, set a specific time for this activity, and track your consistency each day. Notice not just whether you completed the habit, but how it affects your mood and energy levels. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, but progress. Even if you miss a day, simply return to the practice the next day without judgment. You're not just doing an activity, you're building a neural pathway to greater happiness. Part 2. Building a Life of Happiness. Chapter 11. The Habit of Joy. Picture Richard Branson, not in a boardroom, but lying in a hammock on Necker Island, brainstorming his next venture while watching the sunset. This isn't procrastination. It's precisely how one of the world's most successful entrepreneurs unleashes his creativity and maintains his legendary enthusiasm. You might think success requires sacrificing joy for grinding productivity, but Branson's approach at Virgin Group proves otherwise. When he noticed his team becoming too serious during intense project launches, he'd organize impromptu volleyball games or afternoon sailing adventures. These weren't distractions. They were catalysts for innovation. The science backs this up. When you engage in activities that bring genuine joy, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, neurotransmitters that enhance creative thinking and problem-solving abilities. This isn't just feel-good theory. It's practical business strategy. Think about your own daily routine. How many moments are deliberately designed for joy? Not the passive happiness of scrolling through social media, but active engagement in activities that light you up from within. Maybe it's playing an instrument, sketching during lunch breaks, or starting your day with your favorite music. You see, happiness isn't just about the big wins, landing the promotion, buying the house, reaching the goal. It's woven into the fabric of your daily experiences. Each moment of intentional joy is like a small investment in your emotional bank account, compounding over time to create a richer, more fulfilled life. The key is consistency. Branson didn't just encourage fun when it was convenient. He made it a non-negotiable part of Virgin's culture. Whether it was taking meetings while walking or celebrating small victories with the team, joy became as much a part of the workflow as spreadsheets and strategy sessions. You have the same opportunity to transform your daily routine. Start by identifying one activity that reliably brings you joy. Something small enough to do daily but meaningful enough to matter. It might feel self-indulgent at first, especially if you're conditioned to prioritize productivity above all else. But remember, joy isn't a luxury. It's a fundamental ingredient for sustained success and innovation. Your challenge: identify one joyful activity, e.g., listening to music, savoring coffee, and make it a non-negotiable part of your daily routine for the next week. Choose something that takes 15 minutes or less and schedule it at a specific time. Treat this appointment with joy as seriously as you would any other commitment. Each day, note how this intentional moment of happiness affects your energy, creativity, and overall outlook. Pay attention to the ripple effects. How does this small practice influence your interactions, decisions, and productivity throughout the day? Chapter 12: Mindfulness and Presence. Phil Jones had it all, at least on paper. As CEO of a thriving tech startup, his calendar was packed with meetings, his inbox overflowed with urgent messages, and his mind raced with endless to-do lists. But something was missing. Despite his professional success, he felt disconnected from what mattered most: his family. You've probably experienced this yourself. The constant pull of responsibilities, the endless stream of notifications, the feeling that you're physically present but mentally elsewhere. It's a modern epidemic that's robbing you of life's most precious moments. For Phil, the wake-up call came during his daughter's piano recital. While she played her heart out on stage, he was answering emails on his phone. It wasn't until he caught his wife's disappointed glance that he realized what he'd become: physically present, but mentally absent. This is where mindfulness becomes your lifeline. It's not about adding another task to your already overwhelming schedule. It's about reclaiming your attention and redirecting it to what truly matters. When Phil learned to implement simple mindfulness techniques, his entire world shifted. Start with your breath. Right now, take 3 deep breaths. Feel the air filling your lungs. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. This simple act instantly anchors you to the present moment. Phil began practicing this technique during his commute, in between meetings, and most importantly, when spending time with his family. The science behind mindfulness is compelling. When you're fully present, your brain's default mode network, responsible for mind-wandering and anxiety, becomes less active. This allows you to experience life more richly, to truly see, hear, and feel what's happening around you. Phil started small. He established a morning routine of 5 minutes of mindful breathing before checking his phone. During family dinners, he practiced grounding exercises, noticing the texture of his food, the sound of his children's laughter, the warmth of conversation. These weren't grand gestures, but they created profound shifts in his experience of daily life. You don't need to meditate for hours or attend silent retreats to benefit from mindfulness. The key is consistency and intention. Whether you're drinking your morning coffee, walking to a meeting, or listening to your loved ones, bring your full attention to that moment. Notice when your mind wanders. It will, and gently guide it back. For Phil, the transformation was remarkable. Not only did his relationship with his family deepen, but his work performance improved. By being more present, he made better decisions, communicated more effectively, and felt more fulfilled in all areas of his life. Your challenge: practice a 5-minute mindfulness exercise each day this week, focusing on your breathing or surroundings. Choose a specific time, morning, lunch break, or evening, and stick to it. Start by sitting comfortably, closing your eyes, and bringing attention to your breath. When your mind wanders, acknowledge the thought without judgment and return to your breath. Notice physical sensations, sounds, and the rhythm of your breathing. Use this daily practice as an anchor to develop greater presence in all aspects of your life. Chapter 13. Overcoming Fear and Anxiety. Think about the last time fear paralyzed you. That moment when your heart raced, your palms grew sweaty, and your mind conjured endless worst-case scenarios. Now imagine betting your entire fortune on a dream that most experts deemed impossible. That's exactly what Elon Musk faced in 2008. After selling PayPal, Musk invested nearly his entire $180 million fortune into SpaceX and Tesla. His vision? To revolutionize space travel and make humanity a multi-planetary species. But here's what most people don't know. During the early days of SpaceX, Musk experienced crippling anxiety and fear. The first 3 rocket launches failed spectacularly. Each explosion represented not just millions of dollars lost, but also the potential death of his dream. With only enough money for one final launch, Musk faced a choice that would define his legacy: give in to fear or push forward. You're facing similar crossroads right now. Maybe not with billions at stake or rockets exploding, but with personal challenges that feel just as overwhelming. The key isn't eliminating fear, it's transforming it into fuel for action. When SpaceX's 4th rocket finally reached orbit, it wasn't because Musk had conquered his fears. It succeeded because he developed tools to manage anxiety while maintaining forward momentum. He used visualization techniques, imagining successful launches in vivid detail. He practiced grounding exercises during high-stress moments, focusing on concrete data rather than emotional turbulence. Most importantly, Musk reframed his relationship with fear. Instead of viewing it as an enemy, he recognized it as a signal, a sign that he was pushing boundaries and attempting something meaningful. This shift in perspective changes everything. You can apply these same principles to your challenges. Start by acknowledging your fear without judgment. Then, break down the situation objectively. What's the actual worst-case scenario? Often, you'll find it's less catastrophic than your mind suggests. Finally, identify one concrete step you can take today, despite the fear. Remember, courage isn't about being fearless. It's about feeling the fear and choosing action anyway. Every time you make this choice, you strengthen your resilience muscle. Just as SpaceX's failures became stepping stones to success, your moments of fear can become catalysts for growth. Your challenge: write down one fear holding you back, list the worst-case scenario, and identify one step you can take to confront it. Be specific and honest. If your fear seems overwhelming, break it down into smaller, manageable pieces. Then commit to taking that first step within the next 24 hours. Remember, action is the antidote to anxiety. Chapter 14. Harnessing the Power of Purpose. Let me share a story that changed my perspective on happiness and purpose forever. I met Pete during a research trip to Guatemala, where he'd been volunteering at a local school for the past 5 years. What struck me wasn't just his obvious joy. It was the complete transformation he'd undergone from his former life as a burnt-out corporate executive in Silicon Valley. "I used to chase happiness through promotions and paychecks," he told me, sitting in the modest classroom where he now taught English to eager young students. "But I was always empty at the end of each achievement, wondering why the next milestone never delivered the fulfillment I craved." Pete's turning point came during a massive company layoff when he decided to take a 3-month sabbatical to volunteer abroad. Those 3 months turned into a complete life redesign when he discovered that teaching children ignited something in him that no corner office ever could. This isn't about dropping everything to teach in Guatemala. It's about recognizing that lasting happiness flows naturally when your daily actions align with what truly matters to you. Pete's story illustrates a fundamental truth. Purpose isn't found by thinking or planning. It's uncovered through action, reflection, and paying attention to what energizes your soul. You might be thinking, "That's great for Pete, but I have bills to pay and responsibilities to manage." Here's what most people miss. Purpose isn't about making dramatic life changes or sacrificing financial security. It's about intentionally connecting your current reality to what makes you feel most alive and finding ways to weave meaning into your existing circumstances. Think about the moments when time seems to stop, when you're so deeply engaged in an activity that everything else fades away. These flow states are signposts pointing toward your purpose, like breadcrumbs leading you home to yourself. Maybe it's when you're mentoring a colleague, solving complex problems, or creating something with your hands. These aren't just pleasant diversions, they're clues to what gives your life meaning and direction. The science backs this up conclusively. Research from positive psychology shows that people who align their daily activities with their sense of purpose experience significantly higher levels of life satisfaction and resilience. They're also better equipped to handle stress and setbacks because their actions are anchored in something bigger than themselves, a vision or contribution that transcends personal gain. Start small, but start today. You don't need to revolutionize your life overnight or make grand gestures. Begin by identifying one activity that makes you feel purposeful and find ways to incorporate more of it into your current routine. If teaching others lights you up, look for opportunities to mentor within your organization. If creativity energizes you, carve out time for personal projects, even if it's just 15 minutes each morning. Purpose isn't about finding the perfect path or having it all figured out. It's about moving in a direction that resonates with your core values and natural strengths. When you align your actions with what matters most to you, happiness becomes less of an endless pursuit and more of a natural byproduct of living authentically and contributing meaningfully. Your challenge: take 10 minutes right now to reflect on what makes you feel most alive and write a one-sentence purpose statement to guide your actions. Be specific and focus on how you want to contribute rather than what you want to achieve. This statement should feel both inspiring and actionable, something you can reference daily to guide your choices and priorities. Post it somewhere visible and let it be your compass for the week ahead. Chapter 15. Embracing Change and Uncertainty. Let me share a powerful lesson about embracing uncertainty through the story of Airbnb's founders. Back in 2008, when the financial markets were crashing and most people were battening down the hatches, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia faced a critical moment. They were broke, drowning in credit card debt, and their crazy idea of letting strangers sleep on air mattresses seemed destined for failure. The odds were stacked against them in every conceivable way. You might think this was the worst possible time to start a business. The economy was in shambles. Investors were closing their wallets, and conventional wisdom said to play it safe. The housing market had collapsed, unemployment was skyrocketing, and fear dominated every headline. But here's what makes their story remarkable. They didn't see an economic crisis. They saw an opportunity. When people could no longer afford traditional hotels, Chesky and Gebbia recognized that their affordable accommodation platform could fill a crucial gap. They noticed that during major conferences, hotels were still charging premium rates that many couldn't afford. Instead of retreating, they leaned in. They refined their concept, focused on what they could control, and turned their attention to solving real problems for real people. Their solution wasn't just cheaper. It offered a completely new way to travel and connect. This is where most people get it wrong. You're probably conditioned to view uncertainty as something to avoid, to see change as a threat rather than an opportunity. Your instincts tell you to retreat, to wait it out, to play it safe. But consider this. Every major innovation, every breakthrough business, every personal transformation has emerged from periods of uncertainty. It's in these moments of chaos that the greatest opportunities emerge. The key lies in your perspective. When faced with change, your brain's default response is to focus on what you might lose. This is natural. It's your survival instinct at work. But successful adaptation requires you to flip this script. Instead of asking what could go wrong, start asking, what new possibilities does this create? This simple shift in thinking can reveal opportunities that others miss completely. Chesky and Gebbia didn't just survive the financial crisis. They built a company worth billions because they asked different questions. They looked at their constraints and used them as catalysts for creativity. When traditional funding wasn't available, they sold custom-designed cereal boxes to raise capital. When conventional marketing seemed out of reach, they focused on creating remarkable experiences for their early users. Each obstacle became a stepping stone to innovation. This isn't about blind optimism. It's about practical resilience. When change arrives, and it always will, focus on these three essential elements. First, identify what you can control: the economy, market conditions, other people's decisions. These aren't in your power. Your response, your adaptability, your willingness to learn and pivot, these are. This is where your energy needs to be directed. Second, look for the hidden opportunities. Every disruption creates new needs, new gaps to fill, new problems to solve. Train yourself to spot these openings. Ask yourself, what problems are people facing now that they weren't before? What solutions might they need? Third, maintain forward momentum. Chesky and Gebbia didn't wait for perfect conditions. They kept making small improvements, testing new ideas, and learning from feedback. They understood that motion beats meditation when it comes to innovation. Your challenge: identify one upcoming change or uncertainty in your life and write 3 potential opportunities it could bring. Be specific and focus on actionable possibilities rather than vague hopes. Then, outline one small step you could take tomorrow to explore each opportunity. This exercise isn't about positive thinking. It's about training your mind to spot real opportunities in the midst of change and taking concrete action to pursue them. Chapter 16. Building Emotional Resilience. Let me tell you about Brandon, a college basketball player who thought his world had ended when he tore his ACL during the championship game of his junior year. The injury wasn't just physical, it shattered his confidence and threatened to derail his dreams of playing professionally. In those first few weeks after surgery, he couldn't even look at a basketball without feeling a wave of despair wash over him. During his recovery, Brandon faced a choice that you're probably familiar with: give in to despair, or use this setback as fuel for growth. The easy path would have been to blame circumstances, to let this injury define his story. Instead, he chose something harder, but infinitely more powerful. That decision moment, sitting in his hospital bed with his knee wrapped in bandages, would prove to be the turning point in his journey. While his body healed, Brandon immersed himself in studying the game. He analyzed footage, developed his basketball IQ, and worked on the mental aspects of performance that most players neglect. He transformed his hospital room into a classroom, his rehabilitation center into a laboratory of personal growth. Every painful physical therapy session became an opportunity to visualize his comeback, to rebuild not just his knee, but his entire approach to the game. Here's what you need to understand about resilience. It's not about bouncing back to where you were. It's about bouncing forward to somewhere better. Brandon didn't just recover physically. He emerged as a more complete player and a stronger person. The injury forced him to develop mental toughness that would have taken years to build otherwise. When setbacks hit, your initial reaction might be to ask, "Why me?" But this is the wrong question. The right question is, what can this teach me? Every obstacle carries within it the seeds of opportunity, but you have to be willing to dig for them. Sometimes those seeds are buried deep, requiring you to push past your initial frustration and anger to find them. Think about your own setbacks. They feel personal, don't they? As if the universe has singled you out for special punishment. But this perspective keeps you stuck in victim mode. Resilience begins when you shift from seeing yourself as a victim to seeing yourself as a student. This mental pivot is what separates those who merely survive their challenges from those who thrive because of them. Brandon's story illuminates three crucial principles of resilience. First, accept reality quickly. He didn't waste time denying his injury or dwelling on what could have been. Second, focus on what you can control. While he couldn't speed up his body's healing, he could control his attitude and how he used his time. Third, find the lesson in every setback. Brandon's injury forced him to develop aspects of his game that he had previously ignored. These principles aren't just basketball lessons. They're life lessons that apply to every challenge you'll face. When Brandon returned to the court his senior year, something remarkable happened. His scoring average actually increased, despite losing some of his previous explosiveness. Why? Because he had used his setback to become a smarter, more strategic player. His injury hadn't ended his story. It had simply forced him to write a better one. He learned to read defenses more effectively, to anticipate plays before they developed, and to conserve energy for crucial moments. Your challenge: reflect on a past setback, write down what you learned from it, and identify how you can apply those lessons moving forward. Be specific about both the lessons and their applications. This isn't about finding silver linings. It's about extracting wisdom from adversity and putting it to practical use. Take at least 30 minutes to do this exercise properly. Don't rush through it. The depth of your reflection will determine the value you get from it. Chapter 17. Optimizing your environment. Let me tell you about Braille, a graphic designer whose workspace reflected the chaos in her mind. Her desk was a battlefield of coffee-stained sketches, tangled charging cables, and scattered sticky notes. Every morning, she'd wade through this creative wreckage, feeling her anxiety rise before she even opened her laptop, her shoulders tensing with each step toward her cluttered workspace. You might recognize this scene, the physical clutter that mirrors your mental state. Maybe you're surrounded by it right now, watching your productivity drain away with each distraction that catches your eye. Your environment isn't just a backdrop. It's actively shaping your thoughts, emotions, and creative potential, programming your brain's responses before you even begin your day. Braille's transformation began with a simple realization. Her space was programming her mind for stress. Every morning, chaos greeted her before inspiration could take root. The constant visual noise drained her creative energy before she could channel it into her work, leaving her mentally exhausted before she'd even begun her first task. Think about your own space right now. What message is it sending to your brain? Your environment isn't neutral. It's either supporting or sabotaging your state of mind. Every object in your line of sight is subtly influencing your thoughts and emotions, creating either friction or flow in your daily processes. Braille started small, creating what she called her creativity corner. She cleared her desk, except for essential tools, added a small plant, and positioned her workspace to face natural light. She carefully selected each item that earned a place in her field of vision, ensuring it served a purpose or sparked joy. The transformation wasn't just aesthetic, it was psychological. Her mind no longer had to process countless visual distractions before focusing on creative work. But environment design goes beyond physical space. Braille also restructured her digital environment, turning off notifications during creative blocks and organizing her files into an intuitive system. She curated her social media feeds to inspire rather than drain her energy, and set specific times for checking emails and messages to maintain her creative flow. The results were immediate and profound. Without the constant environmental stress, her creativity flowed more freely. Projects that once felt overwhelming became manageable, and her productivity doubled within weeks. Her clients noticed the difference in her work, commenting on its increased clarity and impact, and she found herself looking forward to each workday instead of dreading it. Here's what you need to understand. Your environment is either working for you or against you. There's no neutral ground. Every item in your space, every notification on your phone, every person in your regular interactions, they're all programming your mental state, either elevating or diminishing your potential for success. The power of environment design lies in its subtlety. You don't need dramatic changes to see dramatic results. Small, intentional adjustments can create significant shifts in your mindset and productivity. It's about creating a space that pulls you toward your goals, rather than pushing you away from them. Your challenge? Choose one area of your environment, home, office, or social circle, and make a change this week to make it more positive or supportive. It could be as simple as clearing your desk, creating a dedicated workspace, or setting boundaries with energy-draining relationships. Document how you feel before and after the change. The key is to make this change intentional and observe its impact on your mindset, energy levels, and overall productivity. Chapter 18. The Role of Health in Happiness. Your body is the vehicle that carries you through life's journey, yet so many of you treat it like a disposable rental car, running it into the ground, ignoring warning signs, and expecting it to perform without proper maintenance. Let me tell you about Anthony Martinez, a tech executive who learned this lesson the hard way. At 32, Anthony had everything society told him meant success: a corner office, a six-figure salary, and the respect of his peers. But he was also carrying an extra 40 pounds, surviving on energy drinks, and dealing with chronic exhaustion that no amount of coffee could fix. His weekends were spent recovering from the work week rather than truly living. You might recognize yourself in Anthony's story. Maybe you're also putting your physical health last, telling yourself you'll get to it someday when things slow down. But here's the truth you need to hear: that someday will never come unless you make it today. Your body doesn't care about your excuses or your deadline. It operates on biological laws that won't bend to your schedule. Anthony's wake-up call came during a crucial presentation when he found himself out of breath just from walking up a flight of stairs. Standing there, sweating and gasping in front of potential investors, he felt decades older than his actual age. That moment of embarrassment became his turning point. He realized his neglected health wasn't just affecting his body. It was dampening his happiness, dulling his mind, and diminishing his potential in ways he hadn't even recognized. The solution wasn't complicated, but it required commitment. Anthony started with a simple 10-minute walk each morning. No fancy gym membership, no extreme diet, just one small, consistent action. Within weeks, these walks became the best part of his day, clearing his mind and energizing his body. He found himself naturally making better decisions throughout the day, simply because he started with one positive choice. Here's what you need to understand. Your physical and mental well-being are inseparable, like two sides of the same coin. When you neglect your body, you're also neglecting your happiness. Every time you choose processed food over nutrition, skip exercise for more important tasks, or sacrifice sleep for extra work hours, you're making a withdrawal from your happiness account. Eventually, that account will run dry. Anthony gradually expanded his healthy habits. He replaced one processed meal a day with whole foods. He started carrying a water bottle and tracking his hydration. He set a non-negotiable bedtime. These weren't dramatic changes, but they created dramatic results. His energy increased, his mood stabilized, and his creativity at work reached new heights. Most importantly, he stopped feeling like he was constantly fighting against himself. The science is clear. Exercise releases endorphins that act as natural mood elevators. Proper nutrition fuels your brain for optimal performance, and adequate sleep restores your emotional resilience. This isn't about achieving a perfect body. It's about creating the physical foundation that supports lasting happiness. Your body is the only permanent home you'll ever have. It's time to start treating it that way. Your challenge: set a small, achievable health goal, e.g., drink more water, take a 10-minute walk daily, and track your progress this week. Don't try to overhaul your entire lifestyle at once. Choose one simple action that you can consistently maintain and watch how it ripples through every aspect of your life. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Start where you are, use what you have, and build from there. Chapter 19: The Power of Giving. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates the transformative power of generosity. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, Rachel Thompson noticed her elderly neighbor, Mr. Chen, struggling to maintain his once pristine garden after his wife's passing. Instead of just watching from her window, she decided to act. What started with Rachel spending her Sunday afternoon helping Mr. Chen with his garden sparked something remarkable. When other neighbors saw her working in Mr. Chen's yard, they began stopping by to help. Soon, what had been one person's kindness evolved into a weekly community gathering. You see, happiness multiplies when shared. Each weekend, neighbors would bring tools, plants, and refreshments. Children would help with simple tasks while learning about gardening from Mr. Chen. The garden became more than just a plot of land. It transformed into a living symbol of community connection. But here's what's fascinating about this situation. The neighbors who came to help Mr. Chen discovered they were receiving something far more valuable than they were giving. They found purpose in their actions, forged new friendships, and experienced the natural high that comes from serving others. This is backed by science. When you perform acts of kindness, your brain releases oxytocin and serotonin, the same chemicals responsible for happiness and bonding. You're literally rewiring your brain for joy every time you help someone else. The garden project had ripple effects throughout the neighborhood. People began looking out for each other more, organizing meal trains for families dealing with illness, and creating a community support network that extended far beyond Mr. Chen's garden. You might think you need grand gestures or significant resources to make a difference. But the truth is, kindness doesn't require either. Sometimes it's as simple as offering a helping hand, sharing a skill, or giving your time. The size of the act doesn't matter. It's the intention behind it that creates impact. Your challenge: perform one random act of kindness this week and reflect on how it made you feel. It could be as simple as helping a coworker with a project, buying coffee for the person behind you in line, or writing a heartfelt note to someone who's made a difference in your life. Pay attention to how this act affects both you and the recipient. Remember, the path to happiness isn't just about what you can get, it's about what you can give. Each act of kindness is an investment in your own well-being as much as it is a gift to others. Chapter 20: Overcoming Setbacks with Grace. Let me tell you about Pinocchio, a talented digital artist whose story perfectly illustrates the transformative power of resilience. After spending months creating an innovative art collection for a major tech company's headquarters, Pinocchio received devastating news. The entire project was scrapped due to budget cuts. Years of work, countless sleepless nights, and his dreams of recognition vanished overnight. The project represented not just his creative vision, but his financial security and professional reputation. You might think this would break his spirit. Many would have given up, retreated into self-doubt, or blamed others. But what Pinocchio did next reveals a crucial truth about handling failure, one that separates those who merely survive setbacks from those who use them as launching pads for extraordinary growth. Instead of letting this setback define him, Pinocchio took a step back to analyze the situation objectively. He realized that while he couldn't control the company's decision, he could control his response to it. This is where most people get stuck. They focus on the unchangeable past rather than the possibilities ahead. They become prisoners of their circumstances rather than architects of their future. Pinocchio did something remarkable. He turned his rejected artwork into NFTs, adding interactive elements that weren't possible in the original physical format. What seemed like career-ending failure became the catalyst for innovation. Within 6 months, his digital collection gained international recognition, far exceeding the potential impact of the original corporate installation. His work began appearing in major digital art exhibitions, and collectors worldwide sought out his unique pieces. This transformation wasn't about luck. It was about perspective. When you face failure, your initial emotional response is natural, but it's what you do next that matters. Pinoccio's story teaches us 3 critical lessons about resilience that can reshape your entire approach to setbacks. First, failure is not a final verdict on your abilities. It's feedback about what needs adjustment. It's a data point, not a destination. Second, every setback contains the seeds of opportunity if you're willing to look for them and nurture their growth. Third, resilience isn't about bouncing back to where you were. It's about bouncing forward to somewhere better, using the energy of the fall to propel you higher. You're going to face failures. That's not negotiable. What is negotiable is how these failures shape you. Will you let them become walls that block your path, or will you transform them into stepping stones toward something greater? The choice isn't always easy, but it's always yours to make. The key to building resilience isn't avoiding failure, it's developing the mental toolkit to process and learn from it. This means acknowledging your emotions without letting them dictate your actions, analyzing the situation for lessons, and maintaining forward momentum even when the path ahead isn't clear. It's about building the mental muscles that turn obstacles into opportunities. Here's your challenge. Write about a recent setback, list 3 lessons you can take from it, and identify 1 step you can take to move forward. Be brutally honest with yourself. What really happened? What could you have done differently? Most importantly, what opportunities might this failure have created that success would have prevented? Don't rush this exercise. Sit with these questions until the answers emerge with clarity and force. Remember, your happiness isn't determined by the absence of failure, but by your ability to use it as fuel for growth. Every setback is an opportunity to demonstrate to yourself that you're stronger than you thought. This isn't just positive thinking. It's the battle-tested truth that has transformed countless failures into stepping stones toward extraordinary success. Part 3. Sustaining long-term happiness. Chapter 21. Living a values-driven life. Let me tell you about Raquel, a coffee shop owner whose story will change how you think about living authentically. 3 years ago, her business was successful by conventional standards, profitable, busy, with lines out the door every morning and glowing Yelp reviews. Yet every night she'd return home feeling empty, disconnected from the very dream she'd built. lying awake wondering where she'd lost her way. You see, Raquel had fallen into the trap that ensnares so many of us, pursuing success without first defining what truly matters. Her days were consumed by spreadsheets, inventory management, and customer complaints. The passion that once drove her to create a community gathering space had been buried under operational demands and endless email chains. She was doing everything right according to business books and mentors, but something essential was missing. Everything changed when she took that crucial first step, identifying her core values. During a weekend retreat in the mountains, far from the constant buzz of espresso machines and point-of-sale systems, she realized that genuine connection, creativity, and community impact weren't just nice-to-haves. They were essential to her happiness. Her current business model, focused solely on efficiency and profit margins, was suffocating these values like a plastic bag over a flowering plant. This revelation sparked a complete transformation. Raquel redesigned her cafe to prioritize meaningful interactions. She introduced community art displays, rotating them monthly to showcase local talent. She started hosting local music nights where emerging artists could find their voice, and created a pay-it-forward program for struggling neighbors that soon became a neighborhood movement. Most importantly, she stepped away from endless administrative tasks to spend more time connecting with customers and staff, learning their stories, and weaving the fabric of community she'd always dreamed of creating. The impact was profound. Not only did her personal fulfillment soar, but her business thrived in unexpected ways. Regular customers became passionate advocates, spreading the word about this unique space where coffee was just the beginning. Staff turnover dropped as employees felt more engaged and valued, understanding they were part of something bigger than just another coffee shop. The cafe became more than a business. It evolved into a living expression of her core values, a daily reminder that success and authenticity can coexist beautifully. Your values aren't just abstract concepts. They're your internal compass for decision-making, the true north that guides you through life's complexities. When your actions align with your values, you experience a deep sense of authenticity and purpose that radiates through everything you do. When they don't, you feel that nagging disconnect that no amount of external success can fix, like a persistent ache in your soul. Think about it. How many of your daily choices truly reflect what matters most to you? Are you living your values, or are you living someone else's definition of success? Are you building a life that feels authentic to your core, or are you simply checking boxes on someone else's checklist? Here's your challenge. Take a solo hike or walk in a natural setting, away from the noise and distractions of daily life. Nature has a way of clearing mental clutter and helping us connect with what truly matters, like a reset button for our overwhelmed minds. During your walk, ask yourself these essential questions. What principles do I want to guide my life? Where am I compromising these values? What small changes could bring my actions into better alignment with my core beliefs? Write your answers in a journal, letting your thoughts flow freely without judgment. This isn't about drastic life changes. It's about conscious choices that gradually bring you closer to your authentic self, like a ship making slight course corrections to reach its destination. When your daily actions reflect your deepest values, happiness isn't something you chase. It's the natural byproduct of living truthfully, as inevitable as water flowing downstream. Chapter 22. The Balance Between Ambition and Contentment. Let me share a powerful lesson I learned from Marcus, a tech startup founder whose journey perfectly captures the delicate dance between ambition and contentment. When I first met him, he was running himself into the ground, chasing the next milestone with such intensity that life had become nothing more than a series of checkboxes. His story resonated deeply with me because I'd witnessed this pattern countless times among high achievers who'd lost their way. You might recognize this pattern in yourself. the constant push toward the next goal, the belief that happiness awaits on the other side of achievement. Marcus was pulling 16-hour days, missing his children's bedtimes, and treating every moment as nothing more than a stepping stone to future success. His marriage was showing signs of strain, and his health was deteriorating, but he convinced himself it was all temporary sacrifice for long-term gain. His wake-up call came during a pitch meeting with investors. Mid-presentation, he completely blanked. His mind shut down from exhaustion and stress. That moment of public vulnerability forced him to confront an uncomfortable truth. His relentless pursuit of tomorrow was robbing him of today. Standing there, speechless in front of potential investors, he realized he'd lost not just his words, but his connection to what truly mattered. Here's what you need to understand. Ambition isn't the enemy of happiness, but unbridled ambition can blind you to the joy already present in your life. Marcus didn't need to abandon his dreams. He needed to find harmony between striving and being. This balance is what separates truly successful individuals from those who merely achieve at the cost of everything else. The solution wasn't to work less, but to work differently. He implemented what I call the present success protocol, dedicating specific times for focused work while fiercely protecting moments for presence and appreciation. Each morning, before touching his phone, he spent 15 minutes in his garden, simply observing the day unfold. He scheduled white space in his calendar, blocks of time with no agenda except to exist in the moment. These weren't indulgences, but strategic investments in his mental clarity and emotional well-being. The impact was transformative. Not only did his stress levels decrease, but his business decisions improved. By creating space to step back and appreciate the present, he gained clarity about which opportunities truly aligned with his vision. His team noticed the difference too. His renewed energy and presence inspired a more positive company culture, leading to increased productivity and innovation. This balance isn't about choosing between success and happiness. It's about understanding that sustainable success requires both drive and contentment. When you learn to appreciate where you are while working toward where you want to be, you unlock a powerful state of fulfilled ambition. It's like breathing. You need both inhale, striving, and exhale, being, to sustain life. Your challenge now is to break free from the tyranny of constant striving. Take this afternoon to disconnect completely. Find a spot in nature, a park, a beach, a forest trail, and leave your devices behind. Spend time reflecting on both your dreams and the simple joys surrounding you right now. Notice the interplay between your aspirations and your present reality. Feel the tension dissolve as you realize both can coexist beautifully. This isn't just meditation, it's strategic realignment. Use this time to ask yourself, how can your ambitions enhance rather than detract from your daily experience? What moments of joy are you missing in your rush toward the future? What small adjustments could create more harmony between your goals and your present life? Here's your challenge. Spend an afternoon in nature with no devices, reflecting on both your dreams and the joys of the present moment. Take note of how this balance feels. This is the sweet spot where true success resides. Document your insights and create a specific plan to incorporate more present moment awareness into your daily routine while maintaining your drive toward your goals. Chapter 23. Happiness in the Face of Adversity. You've heard J.K. Rowling's story before. Single mother on welfare, writing in cafes because she couldn't afford to heat her apartment, scraping by on government assistance while pursuing a dream that seemed impossibly out of reach. But what you might have missed is the profound lesson her journey teaches about finding joy in life's darkest moments, about discovering light when everything around you seems shrouded in shadow. When you're struggling to pay bills, battling depression, and facing rejection after rejection, happiness can seem like a luxury you can't afford. The weight of daily survival feels crushing, and dreams feel like distant luxuries. Yet it was precisely during these challenging times that Rowling discovered her deepest sense of purpose, tapping into a wellspring of creativity that would change not only her life, but the lives of millions. Think about this. While dealing with her mother's death, a failed marriage, and poverty that stripped away every comfort, Rowling didn't just survive. She created a magical world that would eventually bring joy to millions. She transformed her pain into purpose, using her daily struggles as fuel for creativity, rather than letting them extinguish her spirit. Each setback became a building block for her future success, each hardship another thread in the tapestry of her story. You might be thinking, that's great for her, but my situation is different. I'm facing real problems that can't be solved by writing stories. Here's what you need to understand. Rowling's success wasn't about luck or talent alone. It was about her decision to find meaning in her hardship, to see possibility where others saw only dead ends. When she had every reason to give up, she chose to see her circumstances not as a prison, but as a classroom where she could learn, grow, and eventually triumph. The reality is that hardship will either break you or forge you into something stronger. The outcome depends entirely on your perspective and the actions you choose to take. Rowling chose to view her rock bottom as a foundation to build upon, not a pit to wallow in. She understood a fundamental truth. Joy isn't the absence of difficulty. It's the presence of purpose, the unwavering belief that your struggles are part of a larger journey. This isn't about positive thinking or denying your struggles with empty platitudes. It's about something far more powerful, the ability to find meaning in adversity and use it as fuel for transformation. When Rowling wrote in those cold cafes, nursing a single cup of coffee for hours, she wasn't just escaping reality. She was actively creating a new one. Each word she wrote was an act of defiance against her circumstances, a statement that her current situation wouldn't define her future, but rather serve as the foundation for something greater. You have this same power within you, this same capacity for turning adversity into advantage. Your challenges, whatever they may be, contain seeds of opportunity waiting to be discovered and nurtured. The key is learning to spot them and having the courage to nurture them into growth, even when success seems impossible. This isn't about waiting for better times. It's about creating meaning right where you are, with whatever resources you have at your disposal. Consider this. What if your current struggles aren't obstacles to your happiness, but rather the very tools you need to build a more meaningful life? What if, like Rowling, you could use your hardships as material for creating something valuable, something that not only transforms your life, but potentially touches others as well? Your circumstances might be different from Rowling's, but the principle remains the same. Purpose can be found in any situation, and that purpose is often the key to unlocking genuine joy. The question isn't whether you have the ability to transform your circumstances. You do. The question is whether you're ready to begin seeing your challenges as opportunities for growth rather than insurmountable barriers. Here's your challenge. Commit to volunteering for a community service project that speaks to your heart, something that allows you to gain perspective and connect with others facing challenges. This isn't just about helping others. It's about reframing your own struggles through the lens of service and shared human experience. When you step outside your own difficulties to support others, you often discover strengths you didn't know you had and find joy in unexpected places. Make a commitment to serve for at least 1 month, keeping a journal of your experiences and the insights you gain about your own capacity for resilience and growth. Chapter 24. Creating a Vision of Your Future. Picture this. Rachel sat in her studio, surrounded by half-finished paintings and mounting bills. Like many artists, she struggled with the balance between creative passion and financial stability. But everything changed when she decided to approach her future with the same intentionality she brought to her canvas. The same careful consideration she gave each brushstroke would now shape her life's direction. You see, vision isn't just about dreaming. It's about creating a blueprint for your future, with the same precision an artist uses to plan a masterpiece. Rachel understood this when she transformed her studio wall into a massive vision board, mixing images, words, and her own artwork to create a visual representation of her desired future. She wasn't just decorating. She was declaring her intentions to the universe and, more importantly, to herself. But here's what most people get wrong about vision boards. They treat them like wish lists instead of action maps. Your vision needs to be more than a collection of pretty pictures. It must serve as a daily reminder of the gap between where you are and where you're heading. It should make you slightly uncomfortable, pushing you beyond your comfort zone while remaining within the realm of possibility. When you create a vision for your life, you're not just imagining a better future. You're programming your brain to recognize opportunities that align with your goals. This is because your reticular activating system, RS, the part of your brain that filters information, becomes tuned to spot possibilities that match your vision. It's like installing a sophisticated radar system in your mind, constantly scanning for opportunities that align with your objectives. Think about buying a new car. Suddenly, you notice that model everywhere. Your brain hasn't changed, your awareness has. The same principle applies to your life vision. When you clearly define what you want, you start noticing opportunities you previously missed. These chances weren't hidden, you just weren't primed to see them. Rachel's vision board wasn't just about financial success or artistic recognition. She included images of teaching workshops, collaborating with other artists, and creating public installations. Within months, she started seeing opportunities that aligned with these goals. Opportunities that had always been there but weren't visible to her before. Her clear vision acted like a magnet, drawing relevant opportunities into her awareness. The power of a clear vision lies in its ability to transform your daily decisions. When faced with choices, you can ask yourself, does this move me closer to or further from my vision? This simple question becomes your compass, guiding every action toward your desired future. It eliminates the paralysis of indecision and provides crystal clear direction. But here's the crucial part. Your vision must be both ambitious and authentic. If it doesn't make your heart race a little, it's probably not big enough. If it doesn't feel true to your core values, it won't sustain your motivation long term. Your vision should feel like a perfect fitting suit, tailored exactly to your measurements, but with room to grow. Here's your challenge. Use chalk to draw a vision map on a sidewalk or driveway, outlining where you are and where you want to go. This isn't just another visualization exercise. The physical act of creating this map outdoors forces you to think bigger, quite literally. The temporary nature of chalk reminds you that your current situation is also temporary, while the public setting challenges you to be bold in declaring your aspirations. Map out your current position, your desired destination, and the major milestones between them. Include both practical steps and ambitious dreams. As you draw, let the expansive canvas of the outdoors inspire you to think beyond your usual limitations. This exercise isn't about perfection. It's about permission to dream big and commit those dreams to action. Chapter 25. The Power of Reflection. The power of reflection isn't just about looking back. It's about understanding how far you've come and charting where you'll go next. Let me tell you about Aaron, a backpacker whose journey across Southeast Asia became less about the destinations and more about the inner transformation that unfolded through his daily journaling practice. You might think keeping a journal is just recording events, but Aaron discovered it was the key to unlocking deeper insights about himself and his place in the world. Each evening, as the sun set over whatever city or village he found himself in, He'd pull out his worn leather notebook and write not just what happened, but how it changed him. This isn't about crafting perfect prose or creating a travel blog. It's about honest, raw reflection that peels back the layers of your experience to reveal the growth underneath. When you take time to process your experiences through writing, you're not just remembering. You're rewiring your brain to recognize patterns, extract wisdom, and cement positive changes. Think about it. How often do you rush from one experience to the next without truly absorbing what you've learned? Your brain needs time to process, like a computer needs time to save files. Without reflection, profound moments can slip away like water through your fingers. Aaron's simple practice transformed his journey. He noticed how dealing with travel setbacks made him more resilient, how language barriers taught him patience, and how solitude helped him understand his own thoughts better. These weren't just passing observations. They became anchors for personal growth because he took time to acknowledge and reflect on them. You don't need to cross continents to benefit from this practice. Your life is filled with moments of potential wisdom, waiting to be understood. Whether it's a challenging conversation at work, an unexpected success, or a moment of clarity during your morning coffee, these experiences shape you, but only if you take time to process them. The sunset reflection exercise I'm about to share isn't just another task on your to-do list. It's a gift you give yourself. Space to breathe, to think, to understand. There's something powerful about aligning this practice with nature's daily transition from day to night. It creates a sacred pause in your routine, a moment to step back and see the bigger picture of your journey. Here's your challenge. At sunset, find a quiet outdoor spot and reflect on the past month. What brought joy, what you learned, and how you'll grow next. Don't just think about these questions. Write them down. Let the changing colors of the sky remind you that growth, like nature, is a constant process of transformation. Pay attention to patterns in what brings you joy, what challenges keep recurring, and what dreams keep nudging at your consciousness. Use these insights to set intentional steps for your next chapter of growth. Chapter 26. Unshakable confidence. You've heard it countless times. Confidence is key. But what they don't tell you is that confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, one small victory at a time. Let me tell you about Marcus, a high school track star who had to learn this lesson the hard way. After dominating his junior year, Marcus entered his senior season with sky-high expectations. Then came 3 consecutive losses. His times weren't just off. They were getting worse. Each defeat chipped away at his self-belief until he could barely toe the starting line without his stomach churning. The same doubt that had once been a whisper was now screaming in his ears with every warm-up lap. This is where most people get it wrong. They think confidence comes from positive thinking alone, from repeating mantras in the mirror, or plastering their walls with motivational quotes. But real confidence, the kind that withstands pressure, comes from proof. It's built through action, preparation, and progressive achievements. It's forged in the crucible of consistent effort and measurable progress. Now, Marcus turned things around when he stopped focusing on winning races and started focusing on winning moments. He broke down his training into smaller challenges, improving his start by a fraction of a second, maintaining form for one more lap, pushing through one more interval. Each small victory became evidence of his capability. With every milestone reached, no matter how tiny, he was writing a new story about who he was and what he could achieve. You're facing your own version of this struggle right now. Maybe it's not on a track, but in your career, relationships, or personal goals. The principle remains the same. Confidence isn't built in grand gestures, but in small, consistent actions that prove to yourself what you're capable of. Each time you follow through on a commitment, complete a challenging task, or step outside your comfort zone, you're laying another brick in your foundation of self-trust. Visualization played a crucial role in Marcus's comeback. Each night, he spent 10 minutes mentally rehearsing perfect form, explosive starts, and strong finishes. But here's the key. He didn't just visualize the victory, he visualized the process, the strain, the moments of doubt, and pushing through them. He trained his mind to embrace the challenge rather than fear it. By season's end, Marcus hadn't just regained his previous form, he'd surpassed it. Not because he magically became more talented, but because he built his confidence on a foundation of small wins, deliberate practice, and proven progress. His new personal records weren't just about speed anymore. They were testimonies to the power of systematic confidence building. Your confidence works the same way. Stop waiting to feel confident before taking action. Start taking action to build confidence. Each time you push slightly past your comfort zone, each small goal you achieve, each fear you face, these become the building blocks of unshakable self-belief. Remember, confidence isn't about never feeling fear. It's about having proven to yourself that you can move forward despite it. Here's your challenge. Challenge yourself to try a new physical activity, like rock climbing or paddleboarding, and focus on the joy of learning over perfection. Notice how each small improvement builds your confidence. Document your progress, not just in terms of skill, but in your willingness to embrace being a beginner. Track both your victories and setbacks, noting how you respond to each. Remember, the goal isn't mastery, it's growth. After 1 month, review your journey and identify the moments where pushing through discomfort led to breakthrough progress. Chapter 27. Happiness through simplification. You're drowning in stuff, aren't you? Look around your space right now. How many items within arm's reach truly enhance your life? If you're like most people, the answer is far fewer than what surrounds you. The path to happiness isn't paved with possessions. It's cleared by removing what doesn't serve you. Marie Kondo revolutionized this concept with her simple yet profound question: does this spark joy? But this goes deeper than organizing your sock drawer. It's about creating space for what truly matters. Think about your smartphone. Right now, it's probably cluttered with apps you haven't opened in months, emails you'll never read again, and photos you've forgotten about. This digital weight drags on your mental energy just as much as physical clutter. Every notification, every unused app, every unfinished task sits in your consciousness, taking up valuable mental real estate. The same applies to your calendar. You've said yes to commitments that drain you, scheduled meetings that could be emails, and maintained relationships that no longer serve your growth. This isn't about becoming a minimalist hermit. It's about being intentional with your time and energy. Your environment shapes your mindset. When your space is cluttered, your mind follows suit. Each item you keep requires a decision to clean it, store it, maintain it, or eventually dispose of it. These micro-decisions accumulate, depleting your mental bandwidth for what truly matters. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to organize before they simplify. You can't organize excess. You must eliminate it. Start with categories, not locations. When you gather all your books, clothes, or digital files in one place, the excess becomes glaringly obvious. The magic happens when you create space, both physical and mental. That drawer that used to jam, now it slides smoothly. That weekend calendar that was packed, now has room for spontaneity. That mental energy you spent managing stuff, now available for creativity and growth. Remember, simplification isn't about deprivation, it's about curation. Every item you remove creates space for something better, whether that's literal space in your home or mental space in your mind. The goal isn't to own nothing, it's to own exactly what supports your best life. Here's your challenge. Host a simplification day. Pick one category: clothing, digital files, or your schedule. and remove anything that doesn't serve your happiness. Gather everything in that category in one place. Hold each item or look at each commitment. Ask yourself, does this add value to my life? Does it support who I'm becoming? If the answer isn't a clear yes, let it go. Document how you feel before and after this process. Notice the mental clarity that comes with creating space in your life. Chapter 28. Spiritual Growth and Inner Peace. Let me tell you about Marcus, a hard-nosed corporate attorney who scoffed at anything that couldn't be proven in a courtroom. Meditation, spiritual practice. He'd dismiss these as New Age nonsense faster than he could object in court. But beneath his analytical exterior lay an exhausted soul, drained by 80-hour work weeks, endless mental gymnastics, and the constant pressure to maintain his reputation as the firm's most ruthless litigator. You might recognize yourself in Marcus's resistance. Perhaps you too have dismissed spiritual practices as impractical or unscientific, preferring concrete data and measurable results. But here's what you need to understand. Spirituality isn't about religious doctrine or mystical beliefs. It's about connecting with something larger than yourself, whether that's nature, the universe, or your own deeper consciousness. A connection that can transform your perspective and reshape your entire approach to life. Marcus's transformation began one Sunday morning when a panic attack forced him to pull over on his way to the office. Sitting in his car, hyperventilating, gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white, he remembered his colleague mentioning a meditation app. In that moment of desperation, he downloaded it. Those first 10 minutes of guided breathing became his gateway to a profound shift in perspective, though he wouldn't realize the full impact until weeks later. You don't need to experience a crisis to benefit from spiritual practice. The science is clear. Regular meditation reduces stress, improves focus, and increases emotional resilience. Studies show it can actually change your brain structure, increasing gray matter in regions associated with self-awareness, compassion, and introspection. But the benefits go beyond what researchers can measure in a lab. When you create space for stillness, you begin to see patterns in your life more clearly. The constant mental chatter subsides, revealing deeper insights about who you are and what truly matters. Think of your mind like a glass of muddy water. When you're constantly stirring, rushing from task to task, thought to thought, cramming every moment with activity, the water stays cloudy. But when you allow yourself to be still, the mud gradually settles, and clarity emerges naturally. This is what spiritual practice offers. Not answers, but clarity to find your own truth and the courage to act on it. Marcus didn't become a monk or abandon his legal career. Instead, he integrated short periods of meditation into his daily routine. He started taking lunch breaks in a nearby park, connecting with nature between client meetings. He began each morning with 10 minutes of silence before checking his phone. These small practices didn't just make him calmer. They made him a better lawyer, more present with his clients and creative in his problem-solving. His colleagues noticed the change, commenting on his improved focus and more balanced approach to challenging cases. The key is starting small and staying consistent. You don't need to meditate for hours or master complex techniques. Begin with 5 minutes of conscious breathing. Notice the air entering and leaving your body, the rise and fall of your chest, the subtle sensations in your nostrils. When your mind wanders, and it will, sometimes hundreds of times in those 5 minutes, gently bring it back to your breath. This simple practice, repeated daily, can transform your relationship with yourself and the world around you. Here's your challenge. Visit a place of serenity, a beach, temple, or quiet park, and spend 20 minutes meditating or reflecting on your connection to the world. Leave your phone behind. No exceptions. Simply sit and observe your surroundings. Feel the air on your skin, listen to the ambient sounds, Notice how your body connects with the earth beneath you. Don't try to force any particular experience. Just be present with whatever arises. Pay attention to how your mind and body feel both during and after this practice. Consider keeping a journal to track these experiences and any insights that emerge. Chapter 29. Inspiring Happiness in Others. Let me share a story that will transform how you think about spreading happiness. Rachel taught at an inner-city high school where apathy and frustration had become the norm. Walking into her classroom each morning felt like entering a war zone of disengaged teenagers who'd given up on themselves and their futures. The air was heavy with defeat, and even the brightest posters on the walls seemed to fade into the gloom of collective resignation. You might think this is just another tale of a teacher facing impossible odds. But what happened next reveals a profound truth about the contagious nature of joy and positive leadership. A truth that will revolutionize how you approach every interaction in your life. Instead of focusing on test scores and discipline, Rachel made a bold decision. She started each class by having students share one good thing that happened to them. At first, they rolled their eyes and mumbled reluctant responses. But soon, these brief moments of gratitude began shifting the energy in the room. Students started listening to each other. They began celebrating their classmates' small victories, from acing a math quiz to making the basketball team. This is where you need to pay attention. What Rachel discovered wasn't just about teaching, it's about the fundamental nature of happiness itself. When you actively create spaces for joy, people naturally gravitate toward them. It's like lighting a candle in a dark room. Others will use its flame to light their own, and suddenly the whole space glows brighter. This principle works whether you're in a boardroom, a living room, or a community center. Rachel introduced success partners, pairing students to support each other's goals. She created a wall of achievements where students posted their progress, no matter how small. The transformation wasn't immediate, but it was unstoppable. Within months, attendance improved from 65% to nearly 90%. Grades started climbing. More importantly, laughter and genuine connection filled the classroom, replacing the suffocating silence that had once dominated the space. You have this same power to create ripples of joy in your own sphere of influence. Whether you're leading a team at work, organizing a community group, or simply interacting with family and friends, your attitude and actions can elevate those around you. Every smile, every word of encouragement, every moment of authentic connection becomes a seed of positive change. Think about the environments you inhabit daily. Are you actively contributing to their emotional climate? Are you creating opportunities for others to experience and share joy? These aren't just feel-good questions. They're strategic ones that can reshape the entire trajectory of your relationships and impact. Because here's the truth. When you commit to spreading happiness, you become its first beneficiary. Your own resilience grows stronger with each person you lift up. Rachel's classroom became more than a place of learning. It transformed into a community where students felt seen, supported, and capable of growth. The joy they created together spilled into their homes, their neighborhoods, and their future aspirations. This is the multiplier effect of shared happiness. It grows exponentially with each person it touches, creating a network of positive change that extends far beyond its original source. Here's your challenge. Lead a group activity, such as organizing a team walk or group meditation, to inspire joy and connection. Choose something simple that brings people together in a positive way. Focus on creating an environment where everyone feels welcome and valued. Pay attention to how the energy shifts when people share an uplifting experience. Notice how your own happiness expands as you facilitate others' joy. Document the changes you observe, both in the group's dynamics and in your own sense of purpose and fulfillment. This first-hand experience will cement your understanding of happiness as a powerful force for transformation. Chapter 30. The never-ending journey. Let me share a powerful truth about happiness that the legendary Kobe Bryant understood deeply. When most people think of Kobe, they remember the championships, the impossible shots, the glory moments. But what made him extraordinary wasn't the highlights. It was his approach to every single practice, every mundane drill, every pre-dawn workout when no one was watching. This wasn't just dedication. It was a profound understanding of where true fulfillment lives. You see, Kobe didn't just endure practice. He embraced it. He found joy in the process itself. While others counted the minutes until practice ended, he was counting the opportunities to improve. He saw each moment as a chance to refine his craft, to push his limits just a little further. This wasn't just about basketball. It was about understanding a fundamental truth about happiness that most people miss. One that applies to every aspect of life. Think about your own journey right now. Are you rushing towards some imagined finish line where you believe happiness awaits? Are you telling yourself, "I'll be happy when," followed by some achievement or milestone? This is where you're getting it wrong, and it's costing you not just your present happiness, but your potential for genuine fulfillment. Kobe's famous Mamba mentality wasn't about the destination. It was about finding fulfillment in the daily grind. He once said, "Those times when you get up early and you work hard, those times when you stay up late and you work hard, those times when you don't feel like working, you're too tired, you don't want to push yourself, but you do it anyway. That is actually the dream." This wasn't just motivational talk. It was his blueprint for lasting satisfaction. This perspective transforms everything. When you learn to find joy in the process itself, in the small improvements, the daily disciplines, the countless repetitions, you unlock a sustainable source of happiness that isn't dependent on reaching some future goal. You begin to understand that the journey itself is where life's richest rewards are found. Consider how Kobe approached his infamous 666 workout routine. 6 hours of training, 6 days a week, for 6 months straight. For most, this would be pure torture. But Kobe found satisfaction in each rep, each drill, each moment of growth. He turned what others saw as punishment into a daily celebration of improvement. He understood that mastery, whether in sports, business, relationships, or personal development, is built in these seemingly insignificant moments. Each repetition was a chance to discover something new about himself and his capabilities. You have the same opportunity in your own life. Every challenge you face, every skill you're developing, every relationship you're nurturing, these aren't obstacles to happiness. They're opportunities to practice it. Just as Kobe found joy in perfecting his footwork or analyzing game film, you can find satisfaction in the daily actions that move you toward your goals. This isn't about forcing yourself to love what's difficult. It's about discovering the inherent value in every step of your journey. Here's your challenge. Climb a hill or mountain, reflecting on how every step is part of your journey, and celebrating the view from the top as a metaphor for growth. As you climb, pay attention to your breath, your movements, the changing landscape. Notice how each step, no matter how small, contributes to your progress. Feel the burn in your muscles and embrace it as a sign of growth. When you reach the summit, take time to appreciate not just the view, but the journey that brought you there. Let yourself feel proud of every step, every moment of doubt you pushed through, every time you chose to keep going. This physical metaphor will help you internalize the truth that happiness isn't waiting at some distant peak. It's available in every step you take, every breath, every moment of conscious effort toward your goals. Conclusion. You've come far in this journey, but remember, this isn't the end. It's merely the beginning of your transformed relationship with happiness. Throughout these chapters, you've discovered powerful truths. Happiness is a choice you make daily. It thrives in authenticity, and it grows stronger through practice. Think back to where you started. Perhaps you were seeking happiness in external achievements, waiting for the perfect circumstances, or believing joy was something that happened to you rather than through you. Now you understand differently. You've learned that happiness isn't a destination. It's a practice, a mindset, and most importantly, a choice you make moment by moment. The tools and strategies you've gained aren't meant to sit idle within your mind. They're meant to be lived, tested, and refined through experience. Every morning when you wake up, you have a new opportunity to choose happiness, to practice gratitude, to strengthen your relationships, and to align your actions with your values. Remember, this journey isn't about achieving perfection. It's about progress, about making slightly better choices today than you did yesterday. Some days will feel easier than others. There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But now you know, these aren't obstacles to your happiness. They're opportunities to practice resilience and deepen your commitment to joy. Your responsibility now extends beyond your own happiness. As you continue to grow and embrace joy, you become a living example for others. Your authentic happiness has the power to inspire those around you, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond your immediate circle. Every time you choose gratitude over complaint, purpose over comfort, or growth over fear, you're not just changing your life, you're contributing to a happier, more positive world. This is your call to action. Take what you've learned and make it real. Don't wait for perfect conditions or someday. Start now with whatever circumstances you have. Choose happiness today, and again tomorrow, and again the day after that. Let your life become a testament to the power of intentional joy. Build your legacy not through grand gestures, but through daily choices that align with your highest values. Let your impact be felt in the lives you touch, the moments you create, and the positive energy you bring to every interaction. Your journey to happiness isn't just about you anymore. It's about the ripple effect you create in the world. You have everything you need to continue this journey. The wisdom, tools, and practices are yours. Now it's time to use them. Make happiness your daily practice, your moment-by-moment choice, your way of being in the world. The path ahead is yours to create, one conscious choice at a time. Here's your challenge. Create a happiness legacy statement. Write down how you want your commitment to joy to impact others and the specific daily actions you'll take to make that vision real. Review and refine this statement regularly, letting it guide your choices and actions as you continue your journey. Thank you for listening and for investing in yourself. I believe in you. Your potential is endless. Now, go out there and create the life you deserve.